Hi everyone, and welcome to the latest podcast episode from Iansyst, where we'll be talking about all things inclusive. Today I'm joined by Chris Cusack, who works for Disability Horizons. He's a friend and colleague of mine, and dialing in from Watford, I believe, Chris.
Hi there. Yes, I am. Yeah.
And how are things today?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Nice sunny day.
Good.
Can't complain.
Good to hear. Well, it'd be great for the listeners and the watchers if you could give a quick potted history of your career, and then we're going to be talking about all things assistive technology today.
Okay. Out of school, I went straight working for a construction company in the offices there. I worked there for about 25 years in the end. When that finished, I was a period of transition where I was unemployed. I retrained during that time and did a degree. I also volunteered for NICE, the mental health charity. I then started after that working for DH and Accomable, largely Accomable, but yeah, I'm DH. I'm a DH Disability Horizons man now.
Cool. So yeah, Disability Horizons, obviously for people listening, watching, is the magazine that we run, and Accomable is the travel site that was sold to Airbnb last year. That's for disabled people. So a pretty varied career there. Lots of interesting roles and industries and everything. So I mean, looking at assistive tech, if we start off in the physical environment, so when you're in the office, what problems and frustrations have you found, and how did tech help you?
Well, in the construction company I work for, the offices weren't ideal. The corridors were very small and the toilet wasn't very suitable. And I was lucky that the Access to Work Fund, I applied to them for assistance, and they gave me money to buy a mobile hoist. I mean, mobile so it could be folded up and put away in a cupboard, but that basically solved my problems to do with that. They also gave me funding for an electric wheelchair that raised up. Wow. Because, you know, I was having different desk heights and doing presentations where the boards are up higher and things like that. And yeah, it absolutely transformed my working life, made things a lot easier. Instead of hour-long trips home and things like that, I could be more productive.
So obviously having a accessible building, you know, not having steps or tiny corridors or whatever was a good thing. And then having a wheelchair meant that you could get around and you could raise it up and down. Yeah. And then having the hoist meant you could use the loo. And there's an article about Access to Work on the Iansyst blog that people can go and have a read about. But yeah, essentially it's great they funded the equipment and the tech for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I've still got the hoist now.
Brilliant. So moving on to desktop, laptop, I'd imagine you've used that quite a lot. Obviously, having the same disability that I've got, spinal muscular atrophy, you know, using that sort of outlet's a good way for us to engage in the economy and the world of work. So what are the barriers and difficulties you've faced over the years with computers?
Well, the first challenge I had really was actually during my degree, having to write extended essays and things like that with thousands of words at a time. I began to struggle. It took me longer and longer to write them. And someone suggested I use the Dragon Naturally Speaking software. And I kind of resisted for a while, but when I invested in it, it was brilliant. I went from taking maybe a week and a half to knock out an assignment to maybe 2 days.
Wow. So for anyone that's not come across Dragon Dictate, just give a quick explanation of what it is and what it does.
It's basically the cutting edge in voice recognition software. It sits in the background on your computer, and if you need it to, it can control the entire computer. Mm-hmm. Basically, you can surf, launch programs, write things. I mean, myself, I only use it as far as writing long passages of text. I can still operate the mouse, so I can point and click. But when that ability goes, because our condition is very slowly degenerative, so you have to be aware of the abilities you have now and the abilities you're going to have. It's adaptable. Yeah. I will be able to use it still.
Yeah, it sounds like a vital bit of equipment. Yeah. I know that there are lots of other people do use it, but obviously for any of the businesses watching, it might be something that some member of staff in their business would benefit from. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So moving on from, I'm sure there's many other solutions and software that could be used on laptops and desktop, but obviously that was your big one. So from your perspective, moving on to a different area again around mobile devices like telephones and everything, do you have any sort of barriers and difficulties and obviously tech solutions in that area?
I do. I mean, as my strength got worse and I ceased to be able to use my mobile phone, I couldn't pick it up quick enough to answer it, and eventually couldn't pick it up at all. And my fingers aren't dexterous enough to do a touch screen. So for a while, I stopped being able to use the phone. But then I invested in a very good quality Bluetooth headset. I think mine is from a company called Plantronics. And it automatically answers, it announces who's calling and things like that. So suddenly I can take calls. The earpiece has actually got its own voice recognition that runs through the phone. So if I wanted it to, I could dictate to it to call someone. But I never used that because I found another free piece of software from a company called Mobizen that's basically a mirroring program that you load onto your laptop. Then you plug your phone into the laptop, and your phone is then on your laptop screen, and you can control it just with your pointer. So that opened the phone up again to texting and apps and everything everyone else takes for granted. So I'm now a slave to my phone, the same as everyone.
That's amazing. There's so many different things that are possible out there now to support. Yeah. So before we start to wrap up the interview, I guess it's just if you've got any other thoughts of barriers that you, well, maybe generally you're aware of, but also the other sort of tech solutions as well.
Well, I think people have an idea that it's all medically kind of based software. But if you look at my circumstances, a Bluetooth headset you can get on the high street. It's not expensive. There are other things like the Amazon Echo and all the other devices that are very similar. They're not very pricey, but it enables me to turn my lights on, control my heating. You know, I use it for research. When I'm working, I can, you know, if I have to phone abroad, I can ask the time there before I wake someone up, or, you know, I mean, it's incredibly useful. And again, it's not specifically for the disabled. It's just has that ability to give you back something that's kind of possibly gone, you know.
Which is a big takeaway, isn't it? That, you know, the assistive tech is very good to help people that, you know, have lost or never had things that maybe a non-disabled person has, but equally the tech that's helping all consumers is providing a lot of those solutions. And the other factor, of course, is that the price is, you know, a lot lower because a bigger market of people are purchasing it.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it helps you to contribute on a more equal level then, you know. So yeah.
We're playing for fantastic. Well, we better sign off, Chris. Thank you for all your input today. Really interesting. I'm sure the people listening and watching got a lot out of it. And we'll see everyone who's been tuning in, and do subscribe to the podcast as well. And we'll see you next time for the next episode of the Iansyst podcast. Bye-bye.
Excellent. Bye-bye.